So today we're going to talk about 5 things that run through our minds on occasion. Uh, Maybe we don't put them into words, or maybe you talk about it with your partner, but you might not be talking about it with other people.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think we don't talk about it? I mean, we talk a little bit amongst ourselves, but is it the things we're going to discuss today? Do we not talk about them because we're scared that that might be our future? We're nervous about what 20 years from now looks like?
Yeah, so we're going
Yeah.
to go through some of those things, and maybe they resonate with you and you felt the same way, and maybe we need to start talking about them. Hi, I'm Rich.
And I'm Robbie, and you found our channel before it's too late.
So if you've watched us at all before, you know that we're just a couple of Gen Xers trying to share our life experiences with people out there. Not necessarily trying to give lessons, but just let people know that you're not alone. There's a lot of us that are entering this stage of life, and we want to share what we're going through and hope that it maybe helps you feel that you're not alone and that these things that you're thinking about are normal. So if you enjoy the video, if you like what we're putting out there, it'd be great if you'd like the video. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you know when we put out something new. And what really feels good to us is when you're making comments, saying things about whether it resonates with you or even other ideas, things that we don't talk about that you're thinking about in this stage of life or as you approach this stage of life. Okay, the first topic that we wanted to go at today, I guess, is the possibility that we're going to suffer some hearing loss.
Huh?
Yeah, very funny. I think as we've gotten older, and maybe specifically the last 5 years or so since Robbie and I have been married, we've noticed a lot of things, not only in ourselves, but in people that are older than us, that maybe points to some level of hearing loss.
And maybe even denying that there's a level of hearing loss.
And it's really normal. I mean, a lot of people actually have hearing loss, and when you get to be our age and you're late 40s and 50s, you're looking around at people your age, and you see people with hearing aids in, and you're like, oh, well, that's just my future probably.
Right, for sure. I think one thing just popped into my head about recently, we were at a restaurant with some friends and having a nice evening out for dinner. And the entire time we were there was so much noise, like we could hardly even hear each other talk. And we laughed about it later, and it was like, hey, okay, wait, are we just more sensitive to this? Like, never when I was younger would I have said there's too much noise in here, right? But now we go out and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't even hear myself think, there's so much noise.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then we've found as technology has progressed, we're a lot more likely to turn on the subtitles on some
Always.
show that we're watching.
Not more likely. We always turn on the
Yeah, it's
subtitles.
especially when there's somebody there with a English accent or something like that, where there's just enough different sound that we're always looking like, what did she say?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll turn on the subtitles. And I have never been one that I'm not worried about having to wear hearing aids. I just figure if I'm going to need them, I'll wear them and it won't be a problem. But I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't that way.
Right.
Like, for example, I have really close relatives that are struggling a little bit with that I just feel like their life would be so much better if they would just, I don't know, is it bite the bullet and put those hearing aids in so that they didn't have to constantly ask for somebody to repeat, and it even causes tension on occasion when there's more than one person involved and there maybe is some hearing loss on both sides.
Right. And then, like, when you catch yourself, one person says something and then you're repeating it for the other person. I mean, that's where I think the causes a little bit of stress, a little tension when you're constantly trying to help that other person hear. But even with ourselves, we notice it too, where we catch each other saying, what'd you say? I can't understand you. Huh?
And I've gone to the doctor, I don't know, I go every year for normal checks. I never ask about should I have an audiological test.
How about a hearing test?
A hearing test, yeah. I never ask about it. But I think as you're entering this stage of life, it's probably something you need to pay more attention to. And it's just, sometimes it just cracks you up that, like, oh, this place is so loud. Like, that's so something that my grandma would have said, back in the day.
And now we say it.
Right.
True. A second thing that I don't think it's kind of an unspoken kind of concern, or we don't really talk about a lot, is memory loss. And that's definitely something as the years go by where I'm like, okay, I see somebody and I'm like, I know I should know that person's name, but if you ask me that like on the spot, it's hard for me to come up with. Or Rich will say, don't you remember? We just talked about that the other day. And I'll be like, kind of, sort of, maybe
Yeah.
remember.
And just yesterday, as a matter of fact, we're out on the boat and we're driving by a golf course that I play golf at all the time. And Robbie said to me, "What's the name of that golf course?" And my brain just like
Gone.
ejected it,
Mm-hmm.
momentarily. I had to stop and think about it,
Yeah.
so that I could repeat the name. And that's the kind of thing that, I just catch myself thinking, here I am, 58.
Mm-hmm.
I already can't remember the name of the golf course. What am I going to be like in 20 years?
Yeah. Well, and I think it makes you question, like, okay, is this normal aging process, or is there something else, that I should be worried about?
Yeah. Again, when we were younger,
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer's was, this is my perception, may totally be wrong, right? Alzheimer's was, somebody named it, and now we're putting that label on people.
Yeah.
And there's, memory units out there for people who have Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to worry about, well, is that my future? Like,
right.
Because I'm 58 and I can't remember the name of the golf course or the name of that person that I see
Mm-hmm.
once or twice a year, does that mean that's where I'm going?
Right.
And don't get us wrong, we're not neurological experts or anything. Again, we're just trying to put out there things that in our stage of life we think about,
Yeah.
but we probably don't talk about.
Right.
And I guess there are some real indicators that you may be headed, there's a possibility that you're on the road to Alzheimer's or dementia. And you looked up some of those,
Yeah,
right?
I did look up some of those, just just out of curiosity for myself. And I think, it's Alzheimer's is there's so many different symptoms that can be associated with it. It's not just memory loss. I mean, yes, we all struggle from memory loss from time to time, but Alzheimer's as a whole, I mean, there's behavioral changes, there's anger, there's outbursts, cognitively, there's the hard having the ability, losing the ability to remember things, being forgetful, not remembering where you put something. And it's stuff that you see repetitively.
Right. And it's stuff, and it's, some of it is like, you don't remember a conversation that you had 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
Rather than, a conversation that you might have had a week ago.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But it just feels that way,
Mm-hmm.
again, at our age. And it's definitely something that you think about.
Mm-hmm. But yet a lot of times we don't talk about, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I say one for me, and I've talked about it with Robbie, and she doesn't have this, and I don't even know why, because my family has no history of this or anything like that, so I don't know why it's in my head. But I can think of times in the last several months, probably maybe even longer than that, where I'll be eating and I'll put something on my fork and I go to bring it up to my face, and I see a little bit of a tremor, and I'm like, holy crap, am I going to have Parkinson's disease? And I know it's nothing to joke about, and I totally get it. But then, in my head, I'm like, I grew up watching Family Ties. Mm-hmm. And then, Michael J. Fox in his 20s, I think, mm-hmm. was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And I've seen some interviews with him, and I mean, it's a destroyer mm-hmm. of your life. It seems to be, anyway. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's like just that little tremor. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
But then, for me at least, I don't put much thought into it, because it stops, and, I still do some shooting for my work and for enjoyment, and I don't see it there. Yeah. So really, if I concentrate on things, it doesn't happen. But it's probably not something that I should just ignore if it keeps going on. And
right.
And again, right. There are some real indicators of Parkinson's that Robbie looked up.
Yeah. So. And again, I mean, it's a very much muscle involvement. So there's lots of tremoring. There can be changes in speech pattern. There can be changes in gait. where there's more like a shuffling that goes along with it. So again, you have to kind of look at the whole picture. But with all of that being said, I mean, as Rich's wife, I'm like, hey, I didn't know about this little tremor thing you're just talking about. So it's like, we should probably get that checked out. And definitely, anyone who is having any of these concerns should definitely get things checked
Yeah,
out.
for sure.
Okay, on a little bit more of a lighthearted note here, why is it that as we get older, we always check the weather? Like, I never cared about the weather when I was younger. And now, like, even this afternoon, coming out here on the boat, I've looked at the weather probably 4 times today, at least.
Yeah, just today. Like
Why is that?
as the week has gone on, we're like, oh, we're going to go out on the boat this weekend, and I'm checking it 3 or 4 times a day, like it's going to change, and really, like they know most of the time,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, they
you
don't.
look at the weather, you get a 2 week in advance
No.
forecast, you're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But yet,
we always check the weather.
yeah, and that I just don't remember that being a thing when I was younger. I mean, if it was going to rain, I would have took a raincoat,
Yeah.
right? But I wasn't thinking about, hey, is it going to rain Thursday?
Yeah.
And I need to check and get my raincoat ready on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, that was something we were doing.
For sure.
Again, just kind of a funny thing. Like, and we've never talked about it with anybody else.
Yeah.
But what is the deal with us old people thinking about the weather all the time?
Yeah, and then a lot of times when you get together with your friends, like one of the first things you like talk about is the weather. I'm like,
yeah, it's so hot out today.
Who cares?
It's humid, right? It's just it's a strange thing, and I know our kids make fun of it because we're talking about the weather.
True.
So maybe the last thing that I think about a lot, and we've talked about it, and it talked about it a little bit with kind of our close friend group, is just the idea of time, and how fast it seems to go, and how that sounds like such an old person thing to say.
Because it is an old person thing to say.
But we've been in Kansas City 4 years now, and literally feels like we've been here like 2 months.
Right. Yeah.
If it weren't for the relationships and the things we've accomplished that we couldn't have accomplished in 2 months, like time is just flying.
Yeah.
And it's doing nothing but picking up speed.
Yeah. And that is so true, because I mean, like, I used to think when I was raising kids, when we were little, when we were younger, raising our little ones, like, things were so busy then, and then your kids got into activities and sports and high school, and then it was just like even crazier busy. And now, I mean, we don't even have kids at home, and I feel like every day is, you blink and 2 months have gone by. I mean, here it's August, and where did the summer go? Right. It feels like it's May. It feels like it should be May.
But and then when we talk to our kids and we talk to them about how their life's going, you get the sense from them that their days are just dragging.
In some
it's
senses.
Just, I mean, they are like buried, and they can't wait for time to pick up, and they can't wait for it to this time to pass. And I kind of remember that from being younger, that it was like, my 20s lasted forever, but now my 50s are going
flying
by at breakneck speed. It's just it's kind of it's a weird phenomenon.
It's almost like a surreal kind of feeling, really.
Right. I mean, and honestly, our kids don't get it. And if you're talking to somebody, even we have grandkids now, obviously they're little, they don't get it. But it's just it's something, again, for us old people, and we're not even old. Like, I mean, we're in the youth of our senior years, right?
There you go. I like that.
But it's something that goes through your mind about how fast things are happening, but you don't talk about it because really it makes you sound old.
Right. Exactly.
But I mean, anybody younger that's watching this, time truly does fly.
It does.
And it just gets faster and faster as you get older.
So, if you do find yourself putting on those subtitles when you're watching your favorite TV show, or catching myself asking Rich, where did I put my keys? Can't find my keys. You find that for yourself, you are not alone.
And it's probably worth talking about the weather. Maybe we need to be better prepared than we did when we were younger. And time really is flying by. So there's no time like the present to actually have these conversations with people. And it's another thing to have the conversations with the younger generation and have them realize that these aren't just the things old people say.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that wise people say.
Yeah.
So again, we hope you've got something from this video. Maybe it resonates with you because you have the same thoughts, or maybe you have some other things that are playing around in your mind a lot. And if that's the case, leave a comment for us, because there's probably other people out there that are having the same kind of thoughts that you are, and they need somebody to say they're not alone too.
That's right.
So again, if you like what we're putting out there, it'd be great if you'd like the video and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate engaging with you, and I'm answering all the comments that I can, and I'm really enjoying that. So keep that coming. And most of all, thanks for watching us, and God
God
bless.
bless.